Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, everyone. Good Wednesday morning. My name is Nick Reed. Oh, let's see here. Welcome to the show. I realize I normally have everything in a very specific order here, and it seems like in my head I put things in an order,
You're
but
just kind
now
of a hot mess. Wow, that's
I
kind of
am
a
a hot.
small stack
Yeah,
of
I know it
news.
is. It is a little smaller than usual, which means I doubt we'll get through it all. I doubt it.
We'll try, though.
Well, I got distracted this morning. I started reading this story, and maybe if I have time to during some of the commercial breaks and traffic to read further into it, then I'll share it. But it's recoil. Analysts warns Trump. His own supporters don't like what they're seeing. And it's, all these analysts, the same experts who, of course, said that Kamala Harris was going to win and or at least had a chance of winning. All these same people who have miscalculated everything. Oh, the overall writing theme seems to be that um, these are just different groups of people that have different interests. They don't really like Trump. They just took a chance on him that he would make the economy better. But once they start seeing the things that he's actually going to do, they're not going to like him, and he's going to lose support. Well, first off, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because he doesn't have to run for re-election. Secondly, it's like, how often are we I mean, when are we going to stop listening to these people? It is laughable. The same people who are wrong over and over and over again. Oh, hey, let's get them all together and write an article about, Trump's in trouble with. Trump hasn't even been sworn in yet. And they're already writing stories about, Trump's got trouble among his own supporters. He's in trouble now. Okay, keep writing. We talked yesterday with Congressman Burleson, and he had expressed his great disappointment in this continuing resolution crap that we continue to get fed by Republican leadership. Speaker Johnson, of course, one of the promises he made to the American people is that would stop, and of course it doesn't. Johnson has proven to be a dishonest, immoral individual who has lied about all of the things that he would make sure got done if he was Speaker. The halting of continuing resolutions being one of them. Another one, of course, that unless there was funding for a wall for actual security at the border, there would not be funding for Ukraine. He lied on that. I mean, it's just one lie after another. And Congressman Burleson, when he joined us yesterday, he said, just wait until we're just beginning to see some of the stuff that's in this continuing resolution, and it's bad. It's bad stuff. There are rumblings that there's an increase in the number of Republicans who may not be supportive of him being the next speaker. And this is what really got Matt Gaetz into trouble most recently, because, of course, there was the ouster of McCarthy, because McCarthy did the same thing. I mean, Republicans are constantly fed lies by people to get into leadership. And the lies aren't just to us as voters and the American people, but to many within the caucus. And so they get fed a line of crap about fiscal responsibility, and we'll start, we'll put a stop to the continuing resolutions. We'll start doing things the way that we're supposed to do it. We'll stop acting as if we're Democrats with out of control spending and just irresponsible spending. These omnibus bills in which there's no accountability whatsoever, and then they don't do it. And so then you have a small grouping within the Republican Party that says, okay, well, that's unacceptable. Who's next? Mike Johnson comes along, makes the same promises. And then, just like all the others, the Paul Ryans, the John Boehners, the Andrew McCarthys, they're lies. And there was a point, you may remember, this was a real point of contention, and I fell into the minority on this, because you had Gates and just, I think, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, there was just very few Republicans that were talking about calling a vote in order to pull him as speaker and have a new speaker, or at least vote on a new speaker. And the response to that was, Well, you have to have, why, what's the point in doing that if you don't have the votes to actually get a replacement? And reality, of course, was just that there was no, even if they were successful in calling for a redo, if you will, Johnson he would have ultimately been able to get in there again. In fact, I don't know. There have been so many of these. Did that not actually happen? And there were Democrats who coordinated with Republicans to make sure that he was in there again. I think that happened. If not, it would have. There's been so many discussions about the what ifs. But the point being is, I'm in the minority with these Republicans, even if it won't work to do this, because number one, you do have people like Congressman Burleson, who really genuinely, and perhaps he's in a minority himself, wants to do what's right and keep his word. Most people who get elected into office, particularly this vexes Republicans because they talk about, we're going to stop this continuing resolution. We're going to get up there and we're really going to whip things into shape. And then they get up there and then they learn that actually that's really hard. And so then they change and they become part of the problem. And they explain to their constituents why I can't do what I said I was going to do. The party of can't. But there are those few that say, no, wait, this is what I said I was going to do. This is my word. These are my constituents backing up. This is what I told them I would do. And it puts them in a very difficult position because on one hand, there is a reality there in terms of numbers. And you will have Democrats conspire with establishment Republicans to put someone in there that is going to continue the fiscal irresponsibility that the swamp likes. So there is that reality. But there's the word of these individual people. And sadly, it is a minority of the Republican Party, apparently, but they do exist. And that's why we need to continue to support them and let them know this. But, that what are they supposed to go against their word? Are they supposed to be part of the problem and be like, and come back and explain to you, well, that's just the way it is. I know what I told you I was going to do, but you don't understand what it's like in Washington. C-SPAN caught up with Congressman Burleson yesterday and asked his thoughts. This was after he was on the show yesterday morning about the continuing resolution, and we'll play that audio. But I'll tell you straight up, he referred to it as a dumpster fire. He is not happy. There is another Republican lawmaker that has announced that she is no longer going to caucus with the Republican conference because of this very problem. Saying, you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be focusing. I'm going to be working with Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and Trump. All of that stuff, that's what I'm going to be doing. Because that's what the American people want. And that's what Republicans pretend that they want as well. So I'm going to be with the Republicans that are doing that. I'm still going to be a Republican, but I'm going to quit caucusing with this establishment Republican Party in Congress because, they're the problem. Only the Republican leadership can manage to take an absolute historic Republican victory and ignore what it meant. We keep almost in a mocking fashion, noting that Democrats still seem to not get it. But let's be honest, the Republican establishment doesn't get it either, or if they do, they don't care. The Republican Party is not being run by individuals that are, better in tune with what the American people want than the Democrats are. Traffic in a moment, weather as well. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today it'll be mostly sunny with the temperature falling to around 40. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 28. For your Thursday, sunny skies with a high near 53. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 35.
Why didn't anybody think of that? What Jesse Inman just reporting, a Democrat lawmaker will just ban guns at parades, and that'll stop things from happening. Yeah, that'll do it.
Okay.
Oh, nobody thought of that before. That'll work. Huh. Can we stop electing just flat out stupid people? I'm getting this very, very short intolerance. It already was there. But for whatever reason, just increasingly, I feel less and less tolerant of just a straight up stupidity. I mean, what is this guy? I don't know if it's a guy or a gal, this lawmaker. This is all in response, I think Jesse said, to the post Super Bowl win parade when there was that shooting that took place. So there's some idiot human being who's an elected official. It's like, you know what I bet no one ever thought of? We should just make it illegal to shoot people at parades. Let's just ban guns from parades. That'll do it. Oh, okay. If only that law had been in place, whatever thugs that were carrying firearms that day and decided to start shooting at one another would have been like, oh, but have you heard about House Resolution 132, this and that? And, well, we better not, get too close to the parade because there's a new law in place that says we can't. I'm so tired of stupid people. Maybe we should start a stupid award is what we should do. Just start. These people need to be shamed is what they need. Bet Mayor McCheese would sign on for it. I bet he would. I absolutely bet he would. In fact, I'm surprised he's not pushing for something here in the city of Springfield if it doesn't already exist. Traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. I've got a talk a bit more about this story that Jesse Inman mentioned. Missouri lawmaker recently introduced this. This is the story that they have at. This is a different story actually. This is a kid from Kansas City itself, because the lawmakers, Jackson County lawmaker, Democrat Representative Anthony Ely of Jackson County, introduced a bill to prohibit the carrying of firearms into parades. The proposal comes as a response to the mass shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs' victory rally in February. Now, even if one thinks this is the role of government and that this is somehow going to prevent gang members and psychopaths from carrying out acts of violence, how on earth can one even begin to comprehend the logistics of this? The bill would require every person who attends a parade hosted by the state or city to go through security checkpoints with metal detectors or scanners. Explain to me how that works. The level of stupid here. How are these people not even embarrassed? I don't know if... You've been to a parade, right? You've been to one.
Correct.
It's not... There's
not like one entry.
There's no point to be a checkpoint. It's all open space. There's no doorway that goes to a parade. Now, so this is what I imagine because I'm trying to think like a stupid person. The best I can figure as a stupid person's plan would be you would have just designated checkpoints, and it'd be like an honor system that you would just tell people that they have to come walk through the metal detector to make sure they don't have a firearm. That's the only thing I can figure, trying as best as I can to think like an idiot. I wish. I don't know exactly how. We should ask like Darren Chappell or Bishop Davidson or I didn't mean any of the state reps. I'm guessing this only would actually come up for discussion if it is allowed to by the majority, right? Like this isn't something that's actually going to be debated fully unless it is allowed to be debated. And because it is such a stupid idea and it's coming from the minority, I suspect that it will not get to that point. I would let it get to that point because I think this person deserves to be just humiliated for such a stupid idea. I think that that one after another, and I'm not going to pretend as if Jeff City is one giant brain trust, but it doesn't even take a half intelligent person to understand what a stupid idea this is. Could have metal detectors to go to a parade? Where are they going to be? Other than just asking people kindly. Now there's... Can you imagine how long it would take to get people through? Think about the number of people that at any given time are... think about your worst case scenario going through TSA. And how sometimes it takes a very long time. And when you look ahead of you, like let's say that you get in line and there are 300 people ahead of you. What are you thinking? You're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get through this. This is going to take forever. Can you imagine? You're talking about thousands or tens of thousands of people at a parade? I mean, everything about this is just idiotic. Is there no one in the Democrat caucus to say to their colleague, listen, I get it, I understand, noble cause and everything, but you're really making us look like a bunch of idiots. As if we're not irrelevant in the state of Missouri anyhow at this point as a political party. We don't really need to keep digging this hole, demonstrating that we're a bunch of idiots Metal detectors at parade. I'm trying to think if I've heard of anything stupider than this in terms of legislation. Maybe as stupid, but can you think of anything dumber than this?
Nope. I really can't.
Metal.
I'm trying to
What
find
is this? His staff just sitting around like, that's a really good idea.
I'm trying to find this guy. His name's Anthony Ely.
Yeah.
He's in Jackson County.
Yeah.
Is that right? Jackson County? Yeah, I'm trying to find out.
According to the proposal, anyone who enters a parade route and knowingly has a firearm will face possible charges of unlawful use of a weapon.
Yeah, no, I read the story,
Yeah.
and I was literally trying to find some type of, like, because you know how sometimes they'll post videos or updates on their social media.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find that because, of course, the journalist didn't ask, so how's this supposed to work?
Oh,
Of
well,
course.
that's nitpicking.
I know. So, anyways.
But isn't this just standard for so many elected officials, particularly Democrats? It doesn't matter whether it works or how it's going to work. It's just the idea of what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look how virtuous I am. I'm going to solve the problem of people shooting other people at parades. So I'll just say, yeah, metal detectors, and you can't have guns there anymore. There we go. Look at me, everyone.
That'll do it.
Look at me. Look how awesome I am. I'm part of the solution, not part of the problem. No, you are part of the problem. Because you're an idiot. What a Jiminy Christmas. All right. Okay. See, this is how. What was in the opening of the show? You noted that my stack was not as thick as usual, and I thought maybe we'll get through it. I haven't even started it yet because Jesse Inman mentions this story, and it's just such an idiotically embarrassing story for the state of Missouri that I haven't even gotten to the latest comments from Congressman Burleson. We'll play those next. He was stopped in the Capitol by C-SPAN cameras picked it up, so I'm assuming it was a C-SPAN reporter asking him his thoughts on the continuing resolutions. He used the term dumpster fire, none too happy with Johnson and Republican leadership, as I think many Republican voters and perhaps even independent voters aren't as well. That all coming up. I'm Nick Reed. All right, before traffic, get to this, run through some of your text messages on this proposed legislation to somehow ban people with, I guess, metal detectors from having firearms at parades. Let's see, you took the words right out of my mouth. How in the world does he think they're going to block off every street of every parade? Even if you blocked off the streets, it doesn't matter because, again, there's no entry points. Are we going to ban anyone living on a possible parade route from owning firearms? On the upside, if they have entry control points, they could charge admission to watch the parade. Well, it's the government. Call the bill's author, be really excited about it, have him come on your show, and then explain to him why it's not going to work. Maybe,
I like that
yeah,
one.
I know, I like.
You know what? Maybe I will reach out to him.
uh, Question number one: are you an idiot? Maybe they could use drones to scan the people. LOL. Let's see. How many times can you mix a stupid and/or idiot in one segment? Well, how much time do I have when it comes to this sort of legislation? Please don't hold back. How do you feel about the metal detectors at the parade? Okay, now you want to really be scared? This guy who proposed this, state Democrat, state representative Anthony Ely. He is a licensed attorney and managing partner at Ely Law Notary and Consulting LLC. I mean, does this give you any insight as to why things are so screwed up in this country?
Get it over there.
Yes. Feeling it. I've got to let the Christmas groove infect me after that opening segment. Thanks, Jesse Inman.
Way to go.
The whole show off kilter with that story.
We've talked about this for 30 minutes now.
Well, and just one last thing before you get
the
weather on this. I imagine that if you were to ask a lot of lawmakers about, then there's a Democrat state rep, covers the Grandview area, South Kansas City, that is proposing legislation to ban people from having firearms at parades, and that would involve, I guess, metal detectors and everything. Just the logistics of it is the most insanely stupid idea that I think I may have ever heard. If not, it's very close. And I imagine that a lot of lawmakers would say, well, he obviously knows that that's not going to happen. He's just trying to make a point. I think we need to start making a point about him or about people like him and points like this, that it is a combination of stupidity and or someone who doesn't really have any desire to offer up real solutions, but instead waste everyone's time with these symbolic solutions that they can utilize to pat themselves on the back as somebody who's trying to be part of the solution instead of the problem. It's virtue signaling is what it is. All right, weather.
All right, that first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today it'll be mostly sunny with a temperature falling to around 40. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 28. For your Thursday, sunny skies with a high near 53, and on Friday, sunny with a high near 35.
He's probably a really nice guy. It might be. Sometimes people are that are not gifted in other ways. Kansas Territory Brewing Company, Bradford Light, one of their many offerings that you can get in the Springfield market now. You know, they launched, actually, at Springfield Cardinal games, Hammond's Field, but now you can purchase it at area Macadoodles and Price Cutters, brought to you by Show Me Beverage. Bradford Light, specifically crafted with precision and care, offering crisp, refreshing taste, satisfying without overwhelming. I can tell you that this is true. A beer that speaks to the dedication of the hands that build the heartland. Out of Washington, Kansas. They actually have a neat story if you go to their website. It really is middle of America, small town America, handcrafting stuff, hardworking folk, and you can learn about it and the other offerings that they have at KansasTerritoryBrewingCo.com. All right, yesterday, Congressman Burleson joined us, and we talked about a number of things, including continuing resolutions, which Republican leadership, it seems to me, as if their scam is to promise fiscal responsibility, no more continuing resolutions, and then they get in there, and then they do just that. Incidentally, when I say fiscal responsibility, I'm not simply talking about the amount of money, but knowing where the heck it's going. Actually looking at what the money is going to be spent on instead of having these continuing resolutions or omnibus bills that you have 24 hours to look through, which, of course, is absolutely impossible, and you're just told to vote for it. That's not fiscally responsible. So it's not just about the amount of spending. You could actually cut the spending and still be fiscally irresponsible in the sense that if you're not paying attention to where it's going, right? Yesterday morning, Congressman Burleson, upon just beginning to go through the continuing resolution, which, of course, Johnson said we'd stop doing, he's like, wait till you see it. It's bad. Cameras caught up with him in the Capitol, so it appeared anyhow. C-SPAN cameras. Ask him his thoughts on it yesterday.
Fire. I think it's garbage. This is what Washington, D.C. has done. This is why I ran for Congress to try to stop this. And sadly, this is happening again. I think that it's shameful that people that celebrate Doge coming in, and yet we're going to vote for another $1 billion to be added to the deficit. And so it's ironic.
What does this mean for Speaker Johnson's future?
Personally, I'm disappointed. I think that he can do better. He can communicate better. The fact that we haven't seen the language today and we're supposed to vote on it this week is unacceptable.
Now, I don't know if Johnson can do better. Better can be done, but I don't know that he's capable of it. Some people are just incapable of doing the right thing when it's hard to do. Now, one could argue this really should not be that hard to do, but apparently it is for Johnson. Johnson, I got to tell you, there's something about him. When Johnson entered that, what was it? Which fight was it? It was one of these fights. Was it an MMA fight? Remember that Trump showed up, and then you had, the stand. I think it's just such a motley crew. RFK Jr., Elon Musk, Kid Rock. You had just this hysterical hodgepodge of what. Greg Gutfeld refers to all of this sort of grouping of people that Trump surrounds himself with as pirates. It's like a pirate ship. You have just this hodgepodge of people that I love it. I think it's absolutely fan. It's not an insult. I mean, Gutfeld's he's not. It's not an insult. It's just this is a crew of people that are not the establishment. They're not standard. And then you had Mike Johnson in there, and it didn't help that he was like a foot shorter than everyone else, and he's just smiling. I thought he just seemed gross to me. I all of a sudden, my perception of him went from whatever it was to somebody that just is desperate for the attention, that is easily moldable, doesn't have any real moral compass or anchor in anything, and is the sort of guy that at any given moment is probably going to just do whatever's easiest in order to be able to hang out with the cool kids. So that's why he can go from one moment of betraying Republican voters and conspiring with Democrats in order to come up with massive amounts of spending. But then, I get a chance to hang out with Donald Trump and enter that arena. And I want to do that. What do I have to do that? And then, he'll just jump from one to the other. He strikes me, given his behavior, as someone who loves the trappings of this stuff. He loves the importance he thinks that it bestows upon him. Because this is just based off observations. He certainly isn't somebody that sticks to his word. He is not someone who demonstrates that he has real convictions in the things that he claims that he stands for. As Congressman Burleson has said in the past, with many of these moves, Nancy Pelosi might as well still be Speaker. I think he specifically said Hakeem Jeffries might as well be Speaker. Daily Caller reporting that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's record slim majority could face greater division following a GOP lawmaker's announcement that she is not going to be caucusing with Republicans for this foreseeable future. This is Republican Indiana Rep. Victoria Spartz, which I like this gal. She is from, I forget if she's from Ukraine or some former Soviet bloc country or Russia itself. But she's from that region, and so she escaped and came here to the United States. So she really gets it, right? She gets it. And she, at one point, wasn't going to run for re-election, and then decided at the last minute she was going to, which we're all better off for somebody like her being in Congress. But she's now saying that she has no plans to caucus with this Republican Party. And she's citing her discontent with House Republican leadership. Quote, I will stay as a registered Republican, but I will not sit on committees or participate in the caucus until I see that Republican leadership in Congress is governing. I do not need to be involved in circuses. I'd rather spend more of my time helping Doge and Representative Thomas Massey to save our republic as was mandated by the American people. Doge, of course, this is the Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, making things efficient, government efficiency. And that's what part of the frustration that Congressman Burleson expressed to that reporter there is that these Republicans run around and they're like, oh, yeah, government efficiency. Yeah, this is fantastic. That's what we're about. And then they turn around and push a continuing resolution that is the opposite of that. It's because they're dishonest. The Doge, the government efficiency, it's all virtue signaling. They really are, in many ways, no better than Democrats. The Indiana Republican is pledging to spend her time assisting Elon Musk and Ramaswamy's cost-cutting commission, known as the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which will need the support of Congress to slash waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal budget. Now, this is going to be a fascinating thing to watch because all of these Republicans that are acting as if they support this, the minute that they start getting the phone calls from lobbyists and these special interest groups that all of a sudden are going to see the feeding trough dry up, how many of these Republicans are going to say, well, now I'm for government efficiency, but now we don't want to go too far here. The biggest obstacle, mark my words, the biggest obstacle to Donald Trump succeeding in the areas that are most important to Americans, it is not going to be the Democrat Party. It is going to be this Republican Party. But for the few, like the Congressman Burlesons and the conservative caucus, the Freedom Caucus, those individuals that the Republican Party hates, I mean, if it weren't for them, we would have no voice in Congress. Spartz has also not decided whether to back Johnson's bid for Speaker during the upcoming Congress, a Spartz spokesperson telling the Daily Caller News Foundation. She released a follow-up statement yesterday morning confirming her pledge to forego Republican caucus participation and committee assignments. The Indiana Republican did not ask to be reappointed to her seat on the influential House Judiciary Committee, tasked with conducting oversight of the Department of Justice and FBI, a Spartz spokesperson told the Daily Caller News Foundation. Quote, "This election, the American people sent a resounding message and mandate to the Republican Party to govern, not deliver talking points and messaging bills. Our country is on a fiscal collision course, and it will take some courage and structural change in Congress to challenge the status quo, which is not happening. As a serious legislator and finance professional, not a clown, I am going to continue being involved, or I am not, rather, going to be continued involvement in circuses. I'd rather spend my energy helping Trump, his appointees, and Doge to deliver on their promises through reconciliation. And I will be working hard, doing real work for the people I represent, not presentations in committees for the lobbyist, spectacles, and posts on Facebook and X to raise money. The swamp will be back in business in 4 years, if not drained through law. Congress cannot fail Trump and the American people again." And she's absolutely right. I get it. Why sit on these committees to perform like a circus animal? Because that's what the Republican Party, as an established party, the elites, expect people like her to do. And so what she is going to spend her time doing is working with the Republicans that actually are trying to deliver on what they said that they would do. And that would be people like Donald Trump. It's going to be, oh boy, how is Trump going to weigh in on this? Does he have time for it? Here's what it's going to be interesting to see if this plays out this way. If you do have, because here's the deal. If I'm a Republican in Congress, and I'm like a Burleson or a Sparts or a Freedom Caucus member. And here we are once again, same old, out of control spending, continuing resolutions, spending on irresponsible things. And I'm thinking to myself, if we aren't able to stop it now, we will never stop this. Think about that. If after Trump's resounding victory, in my lifetime, I don't know that the Republicans as a party have ever had the mandate that they have now. I mean, you could argue maybe, a little here or there, but I think that it's a fair argument that there has never been such a mandate. Never have Republicans been in a position in many of our lifetimes to have the ability to get the things done that they claim they stand for, to the degree that they do, that they will in the first 100 days. Unstoppable. If I am a Republican lawmaker, one of the apparent few who really truly believe in these things, I'm going to recognize that if it does not happen now, it's never going to happen. Never. I don't know what more can occur in this country to set the stage to be able to do these things than occurred with this last election. So then the question they face is, do we fight this battle now? Because, again, never will there be a time in which the likelihood of winning is going to be greater, though it may be slim. Now, of course, if they do, what does that look like? I can tell you the way it'll be presented by Republican leadership. Oh, here you have a bunch of pain-in-the-butt Republicans that are just trying to get the spotlight. Here you have a bunch of Republicans that are trying to disrupt Trump's mandate and our ability to get things done for selfish reasons. And we know this because that's the card that they've played in the past. When it came to the agreements that many of the Republicans tried to secure to be on committees as part of approving McCarthy to be Speaker. Remember all that? And the establishment painted the Matt Gaetz and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and all these individuals as selfishly holding Congress hostage just so that they could get on committees. They were trying to get on committees because they know this Republican Party. And they knew that the word of the Republican Party and Kevin McCarthy as Speaker was absolutely worthless. So they had to get in positions in which they had some power. Otherwise, they'd have nothing. That is exactly the way that it will play out again, I'm sure. They will accuse the Republican members of Congress who actually try to get the things done that they run on getting done, that they promise their constituents, as just trying to take advantage of the situation. The question's going to be, what will Trump's play be in all of this? Will Trump come to Johnson's rescue and, think we just don't need this battle right now? Let's get these continuing resolutions. We'll worry about all this stuff later. I've got bigger fish to fry right now. These are problems we can take care of later. Will he also recognize if this trajectory does not change now, this is the greatest opportunity right now. It diminishes after this, so it will be more difficult later, so I am going to side with the Freedom Caucus members. Or will he stay out of it altogether and say, that's your mess, figure it out? That, I suppose, is what we're going to wait and see. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Grizzly Industrial, South Kansas Expressway and Battlefield, open to the public. How did you know that? Right here in Springfield, the largest woodworking and metalworking showroom in the entire world, and they're non-commission, so you need not worry about going in being any sort of high pressure. Over 600 machines on display. Maybe you're somebody that just likes to do little projects, small little wood thing like pens. A friend of mine who's a wood turner, a long time ago, gifted me a pen that she made. As somebody who does woodworking as a hobby, metalworking as well. These things, they become more affordable and easy to do, or hobbies so many people pick up, and you just may not know where to go. And you see Grizzly Industrial and think, well, that's for some these massive corporations. Not the case. Not the case at all. That showroom floor open to you. South Kansas Expressway and Battlefield, Grizzly Industrial. And right now, this time of year, December, best deals of the year. Okay. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk a text line 447 KSGF. I'm not going to go down the laundry list of things we have to talk about. We just have quite a bit yet left. I'm Nick Reed. Coming up, because it's Washington, Republicans butt heads on daylight savings time after Trump directive. First, Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Emily, absolutely wonderful, took what to us was terribly complicated process. She made it so easy. Knowledgeable, efficient, caring, kind of real estate process was effortless. I would recommend her to anyone for all of their real estate needs. Another noting that Emily Johnson with House Theory Realty represent us. It was wonderful. Incredibly professional, thorough, communication superb. I know she must work with many clients, but she had a special way of making my husband and I feel like we were her top clients. Her advice, support, helping us really narrow down our search area and home needs was invaluable. Polite, available, friendly, very knowledgeable. She always seemed to ask the great questions I didn't think to ask. This is the real estate agent you want on your side. I look forward to working with Emily again in the future should our home needs change. Buying or selling, or just any questions that you may have. And if you're thinking about selling it or you plan on selling it, you're like, well, before we have Emily come over, tell us what it's worth. I know we're going to have to rip out this carpet. I know we're going to have to replace this and that. Don't do any of that. Do not do any of that until she checks it out first, okay? Because sometimes there are upgrades that aren't going to help you sell it at all, and it's not going to add to the value. And there may be some things you need to do that you didn't think of. They're just expected to be updated and new. That's where she'll help you out. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. He's not on right now. We have monitors in here. What do you think Jeremy Rabe owns all of those outfits over on Color 10?
I don't know. I honestly
today he's got a full suit on, and it's a white suit with I think little candy canes on it.
I just am curious where he gets them all.
That's what I wondered too.
Where do you find those? Like I know that sometimes you can find them.
Look,
at, like,
they're Christmas trees and bows. Look at that. Do you think it's a real bow tie?
I actually kind of like that one.
No, I like them all. I think they're fantastic.
Some of them are a little funky sometimes.
Well, that
but
fits
they're like
him.
like Christmas.
That fits him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jesse Inman looks like he's wondering too. Did you see him? He's like rubbing his chin.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, does he have these massive walk-in closets that are filled? I never see him wear one more than once, though maybe he does. Yeah, I just have no idea where he gets these things. I should just ask him, I guess. I could do that.
Yeah.
Or I could just openly speculate about it. Wonder aloud. Republican brouhaha emerging after President-elect Trump called to eliminate daylight savings time, setting up battle lines between prominent GOP lawmakers in their hopes to lock the clock. Trump waded into the longtime sore subject Friday, surprising and perplexing some lawmakers. Of course it would perplex them. And let me tell you why. This is such a perfect example of, one, human nature, but two, the mindset of people in Washington. If you were to ask 1,000 people, why do we have daylight savings time? I bet even lawmakers, vast majority of them couldn't even tell you why. Could not tell you why. And those that did, you probably would get about 8 different answers. Some would be, because of farming. Some, because of this. Some, because of energy short. You probably would get 8 different answers. Oh, but it's the way it's always been. The fact that this is why would Trump want to change something that, by the way, a vast majority of Americans are annoyed by? I don't really know anyone, though I'm sure that there's a group of people out there that just really find it valuable and think we should never change it. Most people, however, I think are probably perfectly fine with doing away with going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They have these articles that come out every time there's a switching from back to forth about, a couple weeks after it happens, the number of heart attacks goes up because of, people that are already on the verge of having health issues, the added stress of changing the sleep patterns can sometimes affect and so forth, because sleep is very important. And it's just not like there's a lot of upside. I suppose it lets you know when you're supposed to change the batteries in your fire detector in your house. This is the perfect illustration of the sort of thing that, and I'm telling you, I believe this is why Trump threw it out there, because it seems like a no-brainer. Every time we switch the clocks, there are conversations about, why don't we get rid of this thing? No, Arizona, they don't even acknowledge it. Arizona's like, whatever, we will not be participating in this. For all the goofy stuff Arizona does, that is one of the few that seems to be level-headed. We're not going to do this. And you know what? They live. Life goes on just fine for them. You would think this idea of eliminating the back and forth, that's going to wreak havoc. Really? Because to me, changing it seems to be more disruptive than not changing it. This is the way that we do it. This is how we've always done it, at least in our lifetimes, of course. Each side, those in favor of permanent standard time, which means having more light earlier in the day, versus those who want year-round daylight savings time and more light in the evening, insist that Trump is in their camp. I'm confused, said Representative Greg Stobie of Florida, a major proponent of the Sunshine Protection Act, a bill that would make daylight savings time permanent but allow states to opt in to standard time. I think he just doesn't want the clocks to go back and forth. Trump pledged on social media Friday that the Republican Party will use its best efforts to eliminate daylight savings time, which has a small but strong constituency but shouldn't, adding that daylight savings time is inconvenient, very costly to our nation. And this should be a no-brainer. It really should be a no-brainer. I do agree that there's some confusion here, and I watched it play out in real time on the 5. They brought this up the day or the day after Trump had, or maybe if he said it on Friday, it was either that Friday or the following Monday, they brought this issue up. And they all got into an argument over whether it was good or not. And then at some point, Dana Perino was like, I think that you guys are saying the same thing. And the confusion here is, what exactly does daylight savings time mean? And we've actually had this discussion before where I acknowledge I don't even still to this day, I know I've been told, I don't know which one is regular and which one is daylight savings time. I don't know. I just always thought daylight savings time was the action of switching the clock back and forth. Like, oh, it's daylight savings time in my mind growing up and well into my adulthood. I thought that daylight savings time was the action of just switching your clock because of the way people spoke of it. Oh, this weekend's daylight savings time. That's what people say. And so to me, that meant that, okay, so the clocks go forward in the spring forward, and fall, they go back, fall back. As to which one is I guess you'd say normal standard time versus the daylight savings time? I don't know. And apparently a lot of other people don't either, because you have members of Congress that, and I get this, they're like, wait a minute, which one does Trump want? And as Stubbe said of Florida, I think that he's just talking about, let's stop it going back and forth. And this is one of those things that is such silliness to me, but at the same time gives us the opportunity to see how ineffective and goofy Congress can be. These individuals that are supposed to be these brilliant minds that people look to like, we want these brilliant minds to run healthcare and do all these other things, yet we're going to watch this debate back and forth. And I'll be honest, I will not be surprised if something as simple, that should be as simple as this going away, doesn't happen, which will be the perfect illustration of Washington, D.C. What do you probably...
I was so afraid that you were going to call on me over here because I don't know the difference either.
But here's the thing. If you were to ask me, okay, which one, do you want it to be permanently this way or that way? I don't know. I don't really care, I guess. I think because our sleep patterns are so different than everyone, it doesn't really... It makes no difference what happens when I get up, it's dark outside.
Yep, same.
And it really makes no difference what happens because there is a time of the year it's light outside when I go to bed, regardless of, because of the time I go to bed. So for me, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But I kind of, not to be one of those people that said we should do what everyone else does, but I mean, why not just put us in line with the rest of the world?
Yeah.
To where when you do the time zones, it just fits. If that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying.
Maybe it's overly simplistic, but
That's
I
the
think
problem.
only this Trump is the sort of guy, hey, this seems, let's just get rid of this. Let's just do it. And then what's the roadblock? Well, oh, no, wait a minute. No. And so something so seemingly simple is going to become so potentially complicated that it never actually gets taken care of. Springfield's Talk 1041, latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today it'll be mostly sunny with a temperature falling to around 40. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 28. For your Thursday, sunny skies with a high near 53. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 35.
KSGF.com, a couple of different things. Still have up there Christmas in the Ozarks. Find out area Christmas events, festivities, sponsored by Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. And then Friday, there will be half price local for less deal. Five Guys for $12.50. You can get a $25 gift certificate, and you can get two of them. I found this out yesterday. So you can essentially get, for $25, $50 worth of gift cards to Five Guys. That will be, again, Friday at KSGF.com, 10 a.m. Interesting fact. Well, I think it is. Someone had texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. China has one time zone, even though they span like eight different,
Really?
what would traditionally be
Huh.
6 or 8. Yeah, it's Beijing time. which I guess for a communist country that kind of makes sense. Like, no, we're just going to have our own one time zone. We are currently in what is called the so now is the normal time. Somebody actually pointed out, is William texted in, normal time is called standard time. I guess I figured that, but I just didn't know what normal was. That's the thing. Indiana does not recognize daylight savings time
I
either.
think there's like 10
See,
different states.
Oh, I didn't think it was that many. See,
I'm
I
pretty sure.
thought it was Arizona and Indiana. Then I thought Indiana started, or there was just a county in Indiana. I don't know. What, there's been talk about states doing it individually. And I remember this discussion at one point. I think a Missouri lawmaker had said, well, okay, we'll just opt out of it. And then people are, but that'll be, crazy, because what happens when we change and someone else does that? I'm like, we have a bunch of different time zones already in this.
You totally lied. It's not 10.
Okay.
But Hawaii doesn't either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're like, whatever. It's always sunny in Hawaii. Daylight savings time is great once a year when you get to have an extra hour at the bar, right? See time. That's true. You get to roll her back and get that extra hour. Jared, of course, texting that in. I'm that person that's okay with it. I just don't want the sun coming up at 4:50 a.m. If we stayed at that time we are at right now. Let's see. There was one other one that I wanted to read. Considering how popular getting rid of daylight savings time is, surprised Congress hasn't jumped on it yet and filled the bill with gobs of pork, knowing it would pass. Imagine Indiana. Let's see. Oh, I think this sums up for a lot of people. I don't care which one they pick. Just pick one and leave it. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to read this text message because I do think it's important. It goes back to the conversation we had in the earlier hour, in which you have a number of Republican lawmakers, and Congressman Burleson is one of them, that is none too happy that once again we've been lied to with a continuing resolution. Speaker Johnson, like previous Republican speakers, come along and say, yeah, I'm the guy that's going to stop that, I promise, and then they, of course, don't. So a text coming in saying you're too harsh on Johnson, as was Congressman Burleson. Burleson represents a district whose Republican leadership, as reflected by Springfield RNOs that gave birth to the Missouri Democrat Party, I guess it's supposed to be rhinos, gave birth to the Missouri Democrat gubernatorial candidate. It would be best that he keeps his comments about Johnson to local loyals instead of national news. The slim margins in D.C. House suggest we support what few conservatives in D.C. that we do have. Now, and I'm not sure if this is what the person here is saying or not, but the establishment relies on this idea of can't. Well, you just have to understand we can't do it because we don't have enough conservative Republicans. The majority of the Republican Party isn't actually conservative, and so you just have to be happy with what you have. And the problem with that is that the Republican Party doesn't sell itself that way. That's how they scheme their way into office. As a party, they present themselves, and I guess in fairness, they do this less and less. But there's still this inferred personality, I guess, if you will, the Republican Party, or characteristic that we're for smaller government. But then, I do go back to these. I'm just tired of being lied to. I'm tired of being told that because conservatives are in the minority, that I have to support speakers who lie to get into the speakership. I'm tired of it. I mean, and for Republicans that have almost joy pointing out how Democrats so often lie to their constituents, and then I'm told that I have to deal with it too. That all of this stuff about fiscal responsibility and smaller government, and these people, they say, support me for speaker, and we'll stop the continuing resolutions, and we'll do this, that I just have to take it. That's just the way it is. Ultimately, here's the question. For people who do want those promises fulfilled, who do want fiscal responsibility, the continuing resolutions to stop, all of these things. For what party do I vote? Which party do I hope to be in power? Where do I go? Because of the way that the Republican Party has operated for some time now, there is no home for people like me and those of you who want these things as well. What concerns me is that, and I think this is part of the reason that we have such a tremendous, like we are facing this financial train wreck, is because the Republican Party has become like the Democrat Party when it comes to spending, and Republicans have stopped, as voters, requiring them to differentiate themselves from Democrats. That instead, that they take the position, well, you got to understand that, the stuff they shovel us. This is just the way it is. Well, we're doomed then. If there is no alternative to out-of-control spending, we're doomed. And I just don't want to be part of that. That's my position on it. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. We could just go back to sundials, and then that would solve the whole problem.
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. Just decide what time we want the sun to come up. That's what it was, 6 a.m.? Does that seem good? Like 6 a.m. every morning. And then, not 9 o'clock? Is that a good nighttime?
I feel like that's kind of late.
Is that late 8?
Like 7:30?
I mean, I guess you could just go 12 hours, 6 to 6.
No, no.
No, that's 2.
Mm-mm.
Just, and I mean, you wouldn't have to have actual sundials. You could just develop watches, digital or otherwise, that are in sync with that. So every day at 6 a.m. is when that signifies 6 a.m. Now, of course, in the winter, that would mean that hours are actually shorter because you have less daylight, but so every hour is going to be shorter. That would be what the sacrifice would be, but you would always know, hey, it's 6 a.m. I guess that actually means during the winter you would work less.
There you go.
Because an hour would not be what we traditionally think of as an hour. It would be, I don't know, it'd be interesting to do the math on that. What would like if you had what we know traditionally as 1 hour, that be the average in the middle, whatever that exact middle is, and then so during the summer, what would be an hour would actually be longer than that, and then in the winter it would be shorter than that. And how much of a differentiating factor that there is there, I don't know. I'm sure somebody's done that math.
Somebody texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Just tell the sun what to do.
Yeah, I guess we could do that. Or pass legislation demanding that the sun just comply in a way that makes all this easier. That's sort of legislation that oftentimes gets passed, meaningless, other than it shows what it is you want to do, what the way that you wish things were. Traffic.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 45. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 28. For your Thursday, sunny with a high near 53. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 35.
Someone made an interesting point, as I noted, that we could just go back, instead of worrying about the daylight savings time thing, go back to the format of a sundial. in which you just pick, all right, when the sun comes up, that means it's 6 a.m. When it goes down, it means it's 7. And, of course, that would fluctuate how much actual time is in each hour because of shorter days and longer days. But we wouldn't have leap years any longer. If that were that would eliminate the need for a leap year because, that's why the leap year exists, because of the way that we currently do it. And I hadn't thought of that. It's pretty interesting. Look, you take care of 2 problems. And you wouldn't have these leap year babies running around bragging every 4 years about the fact that they're 7 years old when they're actually, middle-aged. Tariffs are a subject matter that, to me, are almost humorous to watch discussed. Because the way that they're covered is almost solely because of the fact that Donald Trump is the one who is talking about them. There are a lot of Democrats out there like, these tariffs, they're just going to do all these horrible things. Well, that's funny because the tariffs that Trump put into place the first time, Biden kept them. He didn't get rid of them. So how do you explain that? Why, if tariffs are, I'm just talking about contradictions here. This isn't an argument for or against tariffs. But if you're going to argue that they're horrible, they're awful, well, then why did Biden keep all the tariffs that Trump put in the first place? Why would he do that? It's almost sometimes as if Democrats don't even realize that, or they don't care, because the issue of tariffs, like everything else, it is only an issue that is valuable to them to use against Donald Trump. So that's the context in which they talk about it. Tariffs, like corporate tax increases, are an additional cost to a business in some capacity. Now, there are differences because tariffs, you're talking about adding on to the cost of the product, specifically based off of what country, the country of origin. But the point being is, people on the left, right now anyhow, now they don't mind tariffs. They've not complained about tariffs under Joe Biden at all. But the same people who are talking about tariffs and how it will increase the cost of products are the same people who cheer increasing the cost on businesses through tax increases. Well, it's the same thing in terms of a cost. And I find it fascinating that, and by the way, 8 years ago, I was talking about this exact same thing because you had all of the media outlets explaining how this could increase the cost of products. And by the way, we're going to get to that point here in a minute because arguably that's not always the case. But I thought, well, this is pretty interesting coverage and explaining the actual impact that tariffs could have. If you got a particular product that is coming from China and then you slap on a tariff, how that could translate to that is a cost that you're going to pay that cost. They went to great lengths to try to convince you or explain to you. And again, there's different variables in there, but very simplistically put, that this is something you're going to pay for. But man, they never do that whenever Democrats are pushing for corporate income tax increases, are they? No, boy, howdy. They never decide to have those educational segments to make sure you understand that when a corporation, whether it's the oil industry or any business, is going to have, as Kamala Harris was pushing, these insane high tax increases, that you pay for that. So it's always with great amusement watching how the media and a lot of elected officials talk about the issue of increasing cost to businesses. There's an interesting argument to be made that we know this will not cause some sort of massive spike in prices and it will not cause inflation because we've been here before. It's the same argument about Trump being a dictator and all of these things, that Trump's going to do this and that. Like, he's already been president. He didn't do those things. That's kind of how we know he's not going to do them again, or at least know that he might not do them again. Peter Navarro was on CNBC, and he was asked, there was a discussion just about the economy overall, and this issue of tariffs came up in regarding specifically the issue of inflation and increased costs.
If personnel is policy, that's what people think. That your appointment made it much more likely that tariffs aren't just a negotiating tool, but that they're actually employed. And that, to some people, that's a horrifying thought. To others, maybe not so much. But when you talk about inflation, how do you make the case that if you are there to make sure that the president follows through on some of these tariffs, how do you make the case that that's not inflationary?
Because you have the experience of the first term, Joe. We put on significant tariffs on China, steel, aluminum, dishwashers, solar, a lot of increased countervailing duties to stop the dumping. We had zero inflation from any of that. Inflation is both a monetary phenomenon where we run a Federal Reserve that prints too much money, and they do that to accommodate fiscal irresponsibility. And if you look at how the Biden inflation emerged, there's no secret, Joe, how it happened. It's fiscal irresponsibility, spending too much money. And I'd say they just destroyed strategic energy dominance for the United States, which is sitting on the mother lode of reserves that would make it strategic energy dominant. So I would say that just go back and play all the interviews that were done on CNBC of people back in the first term with their hair on fire warning about inflation. It never happened. And it's the same movie this time. I think what we need to focus on, and by the way, the news yesterday was really interesting with Masa-san. You're going to see over $1 trillion, Joe, over $1 trillion of investment increased in this country because of the president's tariff and trade policies, America First policies. People are wanting to come here, not just to be inside, but also because of all the good things we're doing in terms of tax relief and regulatory relief.
Navarro makes a couple of really solid points here. One, we've been here before, and we were all told the same thing, and it didn't happen. And I recall not even so much specifically the tariff discussion, though, as I noted 8 years ago we were talking about that, but just when it came to Trump's economic policies overall. You had media outlets that weren't only grabbing Democrats, but they were getting economic advisors from the Bush administration, trotting them out to talk about how dangerous Donald Trump was going to be to the economy. Donald Trump had no idea what he was talking about. He was either lying to the American people or he was naive about what his economic policies was going to do for the country. It was going to cause economic turmoil. And, of course, the experts were all wrong, and Trump was right. You know, the thing about Trump is it doesn't mean that he's always going to be right. But his number one goal is really, truly, it's not just a slogan. It is to make this country better. That's his number one goal. And I think that it's a revelation to a lot of people that most lawmakers or presidents, that's not really what it is. Now, in their minds, that's always there. But for Trump, it's measurable. It's just an idea for a lot of people who run for office. Like, I'm going to get in there and make right decisions, and by default, that's just going to be a good thing, and we'll have a great country. Trump, he's like, he wants to measure these results. It's not just a feeling. It's not just, golly gee whiz, well, we'll just know if it's better. It's like meaningful. People have greater spending power. People, all of the things that make life better in a non-spiritual sense, make quality of life increase. That's what he wants to see done. That's his number one goal. And he doesn't have to worry about balancing that with lobbyists that want this or lobbyists that want that or special interest groups. And it isn't to say that at times he may not negotiate and throw a bone over here and over there. But if he believes it is going to be at the expense of the country getting better, he's not going to do it because he doesn't serve any of those interests. He doesn't serve the interest of any of these different or Wall Street. This was one of the things that when Biden was running against Trump, that the audio got out of some Chinese official talking to Beijing University about how they were supportive of Joe Biden because Joe Biden was owned by Wall Street and nobody owned Trump. So Trump's number one priority was the United States of America, which, of course, is in conflict with China's priority. And so that's why they wanted Joe Biden. I mean, they openly talked about this at Beijing University. Even in instances where maybe there's miscalculations or Trump, I mean, he's not perfect. No one is. Successful people make mistakes. They learn from them. And it's not to say that there aren't going to be some black swan moments that throw a wrench in everything and no one could see it coming and it really sets us back. But the one thing that you know about Trump is he's really serving one master, and that is the quality of life, the success of the United States of America. That's what matters to him. He is not concerned about when I'm finished here, am I going to get a professorship somewhere? If I'm finished here, am I going to be invited to make $500,000 speeches places? When I finished here, am I going to be able to get some gig on K Street? He doesn't have to worry about entertaining those people. He does not have to worry about being good in with those groups of people. And I think that factor so often gets overlooked, which is understandable because we're not accustomed to people whose goal is really the same as ours for the most part, and that is just to make life better for us. Not for him, but for us. Clearly, making life better for himself is not something that Donald Trump is concerned with, given that all this has done is made his life a living hell in certain capacities. And I think that we should appreciate that and recognize that as we watch things play out. And, the issue of tariffs, you can hear experts on both sides and think, well, maybe it could be good here, it could be good there, and so forth. But when you recognize that this is like really the one guy that without question ultimately does have one goal, and that is for this to work for us, to make it better here. And I think we should have confidence in knowing that just puts us way ahead of the curve when it comes to this stuff. But Peter Navarro also pointing out the fact that, we've been here before, and this is what they said before, and it didn't cause all these horrible things to happen. So there's that. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Elizabeth Warren has, over the years, demonstrated herself to be an embarrassing joke, and I'm not saying that to be insulting. It's not a compliment either. I mean, she's clearly wrong-headed, and she, of course, has lied about her heritage, falsely claiming to be Native American when I think eventually she proved that she was by showing she was 1,024th Native American or something. But she's gone from somebody that many Americans recognize to be, dangerous in terms of her thoughts and ideas about government control. But the more that she gets herself out there and makes these declarations and stuff, the more that you start to think that she's kind of a joke. And the latest is she sent a letter to Trump's transition team Monday regarding Elon Musk's involvement with the incoming Trump administration. And she refers to Musk as the unofficial co-president. This is supposed to be some sort of insult. These people on one hand claim that Trump is this bully who he's so stubborn, he refuses to listen to anyone other than himself. But then on the other hand, try to claim he's not actually running things, or, Elon Musk is. They can't figure out which insult track they want to stay in. But one of the 14 questions from Elizabeth Warren reads, moving forward, will Musk recuse himself from matters affecting Tesla, SpaceX, X, or any other company he owns or in which he has a substantial investment, putting Mr. Musk in a position to influence billions of dollars of government contracts and regulatory enforcement without a stringent conflict of interest agreement in place is an invitation for corruption on a scale not seen in our lifetime. Are you kidding me? This is a governing body, Congress, that is allowed to buy and sell stock based off of what for the rest of us would be punishable by imprisonment, known as insider information. This is why there are apps that are created that track Nancy Pelosi's stock purchases so that people can benefit in the same way that corrupt politicians do from what, again, would be considered insider trading if anyone in the public sector did it or the private sector did it. Not to mention, she has spent the last 4 years defending an administration that has a president whose son has been funneling millions and millions of dollars from foreign corrupt governments through these LLCs, dropping into bank accounts of Biden family members without any of them being able to explain what the money's actually for. Oh, but now she has concerns? I would have returned. I wouldn't have been great if it was an actual physical letter and just wrote return to sender. Perhaps better than that was the response from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, or the incoming White House Press Secretary for Trump. Quote, Pocahontas can play political games and send toothless letters, but the Trump Vance transition will continue to be held to the highest ethical and legal standards possible, a standard unfamiliar to a career politician whose social impact is 1/1024th that of Elon Musk. The 1/1024th, of course, referencing her Native American heritage. What an absolute joke. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. And coming up in the upcoming hour, Democrats increasingly believing conspiracy theories that Trump will not be sworn in. One Democrat activist that's influential in social media calling for an insurrection if he is sworn in. That next. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I am Nick Reed. Hello, welcome to the show, everyone. Coming up Friday, 10 a.m. at KSGF.com, local for less Ozarks, $25 gift certificates for Five Guys for only $12.50, and you can get 2 of those. Have you ever been to Five Guys?
You know, I don't think I have.
I think you'd know.
Well, then I guess I haven't.
I mean, especially if you'd only been once. It would be, I don't know, it
Yeah,
just seems like...
I don't think so.
Seems like it would be something you remember. I haven't been in a really long time. Very long time. That would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Good deal, and you get 2 of them. So for $25, you can get $50 worth of gift certificates for Five Guys. That will be at ksgf.com. 10 a.m. that launches Friday, and we still have the Christmas in the Ozarks listing of Christmas holiday festivities throughout the Ozarks. That's sponsored by Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Last week, I played some audio, a couple of Democrat activists that were on social media spreading what some people might call disinformation about how it is that Donald Trump actually isn't going to be sworn in as president. One of the Democrat activists was claiming that J.D. Vance was planning on, in her words, turning state's evidence against Donald Trump, and that's why you haven't seen much of him lately, although that was posted before he attended the Army-Navy game with Trump. But nonetheless, this is the conspiracy theory going around Democrat circles that somehow J.D. Vance had all of this information about Donald Trump, what Donald Trump has done illegally. It's ironclad stuff, and that he is going to work on behalf of the government to imprison Donald Trump. Now, how that then results in Kamala Harris becoming president, this Democrat activist did not explain that part. But yeah, nitpicking details, so forth. Another Democrat activist on social media was claiming that there were recounts that were still going on, that Kamala Harris was, that like her campaign was going to potentially challenge some things, and that the numbers weren't adding up. She was essentially claiming what Democrats have said is the reason Donald Trump and his attorneys should be in prison, because they were questioning some of the counts and whether certain votes should have been counted and so forth. But as we know, you could just look back at the Bush-Gore election. Democrats are allowed to go to court. They're allowed to challenge elections. They're allowed to question the integrity of certain elections. Republicans, if they do it, they get disbarred, and there's an attempt to throw them in prison. This is the country that the Democrats have given us today. Last week, there was another posting from a liberal veteran who is a social media Democrat influencer, who is also claiming that Trump is not going to be sworn in, that there's going to be an executive order that is going to result in his arrest before he's able to be sworn in. And if he isn't, then he calls upon millions of Democrats to come to Washington, D.C. in what can only be described as an insurrection. Here is his video. This was posted, I think it was the end of last week, so in the last several days.
It's we the people, okay? We have executive order coming out, 13848, right? It's going to be implemented. It's been out. Donald Trump helped create it. And it's going to come back to bite him in the ass, because what it does is it says how we have to proceed when we realize that there has been outside interference in our election. There definitely has been. They're going to reveal that on the 20th of December, because 45 days from November 6th brings us to December 20th, which is 6 days from today. So this coming Friday. So have a great weekend. Do your laundry. Hang your stuff out if you can. Change the sheets to your bed. Go grocery shopping. Get everything set up. Go to church tomorrow or don't. Pray at home. Hold hands. Love the ones you're with. Be good to yourselves. And let's get our country back, right? Next week, the Friday, I have a feeling this Executive Order 13848 will be implemented. And if not, a month from then, December 20th to January 20th, day of the inauguration, we, the people, are going to have to show up in Washington and have this guy step down. The 3% rule states that if you have 3% of a of a group of people's population, 3% of a particular population, if they gather in mass, they can change everything. So we have 330 million Americans. 10% of that is 33 million. And what's a third of that? 11 million. 11 million of us have to show up on Washington, D.C. on January 20th and have this guy step down. He'll see 11 million people. Talk about a crowd. He'll have a coronary. And we can't depend on the people out west. God bless. But for those of us here in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Long Island, Connecticut, right? Everybody, we got to converge on Washington. Black, white, trans, LGBTQ2, drag queens, peacefully, cohesively, we're going to meet and have this guy step down on January 20th. That's our fail-safe.
All right, so here's yet another Democrat activist that is, amazingly enough, being allowed on social media to spread disinformation, conspiracy theories about how Donald Trump is not actually going to be sworn in, arguing that he will be arrested on December 20th, according to, or by way of an executive order. And if he isn't, then he calls on at least 11 million anti-Trump people to make their way to Washington, D.C. to force him to step down. Now, I thought it was interesting that he used the term peacefully, because that's what Trump also said when he was talking to supporters who were going to protest in the Capitol or at the Capitol, to do anything that you do it peacefully. And we're told that he still incited an insurrection and should go to prison for it. So I'm sure that the Biden Justice Department is going to get on this guy. I'm sure he'll be indicted for trying to incite an insurrection. The overthrowing of the government. Here's another Democrat that is calling for this. It has also made, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, but one of the reasons that Donald Trump included was banned from social media was because we were told that that platform was being used to spread disinformation about the election.
It's rhetoric.
And dangerous rhetoric, yes. This is the entire reason that Trump and there were even some apps, you may recall, that the different platforms refused to allow to be downloaded because those apps were being used for people to communicate with dangerous rhetoric and spread disinformation about the election of Joe Biden. It's funny how it's not that big of a deal now, isn't it? This is pretty interesting stuff. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Latest news update.
So regarding that article, I just pulled it up. It was KCTV5 regarding that, what is his name? Anthony Ely?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the one that wants to restrict guns at parades. KCTV5 reached out to Ely to discuss further H-Bill 94. He declined to make himself available, citing scheduling conflicts.
Yeah. They were probably going to ask really hard-hitting questions like, how would that work exactly?
How do you plan on making this happen? The first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 45. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 28. For your Thursday, sunny skies with a high near 53, and on Friday, sunny with a high near 35.
Springfield restaurant owner John Michael Phelps sentenced to prison for fraud scheme. This is a Springfield News Leader story. Springfield restaurateur who pleaded guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud has been sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, according to court records. Phelps pleaded guilty to a felony count of wire fraud, felony count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, according to court records, and admitted to the forfeiture allegations in July of 23. Tuesday, in the U.S. Western District of Missouri, U.S. Judge Stephen Burrow sentenced Phelps to serve 24 months in prison for each count, which will run at the same time. Phelps has also been ordered to pay more than $8 million in restitution. After being released from prison, court documents said Phelps will be on supervised release for 3 years. Phelps, who owned Hot Cluckers, Taco Habitat, and Bourbon and Beale, was under investigation starting September of 2022 when the federal government accused him of misusing Paycheck Protection Program funds for home improvement. The complaint alleged that Phelps applied for 12 PPP loans using several different companies under his ownership or control and lied about the business being operational, according to previous reporting. All of Phelps' Springfield restaurants closed following the investigation. According to court records, Phelps and another person used false IDs, complete with false identification documents, to apply for loans, and then allegedly used those funds for personal purchases, including cars, a yacht, jewelry, baseball cards, and home renovations. This is a fantastic display of the elites versus the rest of us. This same week, in fact, I talked about this yesterday, there was a news item about how the city of Springfield was deciding to use funds that were allocated and borrowed from our children and our children's children for the purposes of preventing chaos due to COVID. That money in this post-COVID world is laying around, and so, well, what fun things can we use it for? Things that have nothing whatsoever to do with COVID. So in other words, government telling us this is what these tax dollars are going to be used for, and now they're being used for something that they weren't intended for. Here's a citizen that did the same thing, and he's going to prison. It's no different. Under false pretense, he obtained these dollars. Same thing that the government has done. Do any of them go to prison? He has to pay restitution. I'd be fine with just getting the money back that wasn't used for COVID purposes. Isn't it funny, though, how that's not even an option? No. We can use it for renovations over here. In fact, one of the reasons that John Michael Phelps is going to prison is because he used what was supposed to be COVID, the PPP, is the protection, paycheck protection. So, if you owned a business and you were not able to make payroll because of government shutting you down, this would allow you to continue to do so. It was for COVID purposes. One of the reasons that he's going to prison is he used them for renovations instead. Is this not exactly what the city of Springfield is talking about using COVID dollars for right now? Renovations? In some capacity? It's not just here. Happens all over the country. Now, I'm not saying that this John Michael Phelps didn't do anything wrong. That's not what this is about. This is about people in government having a separate set of rules than the rest of us. People in government openly behaving in a manner that when the private citizen does it, they go to prison for it. Now, of course, their excuse is, well, but we have the right to. Oh, I guess that's the point, isn't it? That we live in a society where you all in government can take away from us our tax dollars under a false pretense, claiming, oh, this is all going to be used for COVID-related stuff, then using it on things that are non-COVID related. Renovations being one of them. Private citizen, same thing. takes COVID dollars under the pretense it's going to be used for COVID stuff, and it wasn't. Among other things, renovations. He goes to prison. And I guarantee you, and the fact that people in government think, well, that's different because we're allowed to. Yeah, that's the point. And the fact that you don't morally find that wrong. This isn't to say that the non-COVID related projects aren't needed, but that's not what this money was taken from us for. This is not what we were told. The whole thing in a panic when people were worried about losing their homes, losing their businesses, losing their revenue. How am I going to pay for this? That fear that people had was preyed upon by people in government to get as much money as possible. And then when it turns out that they didn't actually need it all to, quote, help us, oh, they just find things to spend it on. We'll spend some over here. We'll spend some more. Anybody have any ideas? We got all this extra money laying around. At least somebody like John Michael Feltz could argue potentially, though I don't know his tax situation, that he was just getting back some of what he had paid in. I mean, the immoral hypocrisy that there's no one in government that says, no, wait a minute here. Just because we're legally allowed to spend these dollars, we shouldn't do that. Because the people were told, our citizens that we are supposed to represent and stand up for, they were told that all of this was going to be for COVID-related stuff, to prevent the collapse of our economy due to COVID, to prevent their businesses from closing because of COVID. And so, no, this is a crazy and novel idea. We're going to kind of do what's right here and not spend it on things other than what our citizens were told it was going to be used for. Not a single voice stands up and says that. In fact, I bet a lot of them read this story about a private citizen who goes to prison for doing the exact same thing they've done, and they think, good, that guy deserved it. I realize the depraved hypocrisy. And I want to reiterate, I'm sure like, well, yeah, but these are things that need to be done. Okay. Then use dollars that are meant for that. If you need those dollars, well, we don't have any, then you should go to the taxpayers and you make an argument. Okay, now we need money for these things over here. Will you give us some more of your money so that we can do these things? Just because it's too hard or you think the answer may be no and it's real easy to take money that was meant for other things doesn't mean it's right. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's dishonest. And I think that government, most people, not all, but most in government, particularly in Springfield, are so unethical, it never even crosses their mind that it's wrong. They probably don't even think it is. Because, see, they're in government. They get to do things that we don't get to do. They get to break promises. They get to tell you that these dollars are going to be used for one thing, get your money based off of that, and then use it for something else while citizens go to prison for it. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Jana wrote, "We are incredibly thankful for Josh. He came out immediately after a storm to confirm roof damage. He worked with our insurance adjuster to validate the need for a new roof, which we got approved, all thanks to him. He is extremely knowledgeable, took the time to thoroughly answer all of our questions, and he even got the roofing crew out ahead of schedule. Pyramid was a dream to work with and also has one of the best warranties around. Thank you so much." And that's what you get with the Pyramid Roofing team. They're great people to work with, and now is actually a great time to schedule that free roof inspection before winter weather hits in the Ozarks. So whether you need a whole new roof, commercial roofing, or maybe just a simple roof repair, give Josh and his team a call today. Now you can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Speaking of Pyramid, text line. I'm getting an error message on an Hour 3 podcast yesterday. What's going wrong?
Oh, no, I'm going to look.
All right, she'll check that out for you.
I will.
Fella or ma'am,
Wonder-
whichever. I do not know.
Guessing they're on
Non-binary.
the app. Stop.
I don't know. All right, we're going to get a traffic update. More coming up here in just a couple of moments. I'm Nick Reed. Rah, 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 rah.
I liked that.
Sure.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 45. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 28. For your Thursday, sunny skies with a high near 53. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 35.
So I goofed on something, which means somebody's going to benefit from it.
Yes.
Lunch bunch.
That's right.
I think actually I was looking at the calendar today so I could let them know what time we are going to be there. And I was like, I don't have anyone on there. And I think it's because when I was booking them out, I wasn't exactly sure when I would be taking off in terms of vacation at that point. And so I didn't book anyone. And so I thought, well, I guess we could skip it. But the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to be able. I'm going to be gone. And because it'll be Christmas, and then I'm gone the following week, and so I thought, well, I don't want to go that long without lunch bunch. So, if you can attend lunch bunch today, and you would like to go to lunch bunch at Retro Metro with Sarah and me, and bring up to 5 people with you, text the word lunch to the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 417-447-KSGF. Now, I would ask you, if you're going to do this, at around 9 o'clock, if you can make sure that you are able to check your phone somewhere around there, because that's when Sarah will contact the winner. because we don't want you at 11 o'clock to look at your phone and go, oh, wait, I won, because by then it'll be too late. And so, it doesn't have to be an immediate, but just, keep in mind, it'll be at 9, right? 9 when the winner will be drawn. So just text the word lunch, and they'll get a bounce back if they did it correctly?
Yes.
Okay, letting you know. So, if again, this is for today in terms of what time they open at 11, but, if 11:30 or 11:15 or, whatever time is better accommodating for you when it comes to lunch, then we can let them know that's what time we'll be there. If you want to, again, go to lunch with us today, Lunch Bunch at Retro Metro, text the word lunch to 417-447-KSGF, and then around 9 o'clock, you will, if you win, you'll be contacted, and then we'll find out, like I said, you can bring up to 5 people with you to join Sarah and me, and then we'll find out what time you want to do it, and there we go. That's the information.
That's right. And also to our friend who texted in on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, I got hour 3 fixed for you.
All right, there we go, everyone. There we go. This is just a great story. The San Francisco Department of Public Health has hired a self-described anti-weight-based discrimination expert to consult on weight stigma and weight neutrality. Virgie Tovar, the author of You Have the Right to Remain Fat, and other published works on fat positivity and body acceptance, announced on her Instagram Monday that she was hired to consult for the department, calling the collaboration an absolute dream come true. Quote, I'm unbelievably proud to serve the city I've called home for almost 20 years in this way, she wrote. The consultancy is an absolute dream come true, and it's my biggest hope and belief that weight neutrality will be the future of public health. Tovar's website lists her as a plus-size Latina author, lecturer, and leading expert on weight-based discrimination and body positivity with over a decade of experience. I guess that means she's been fat for over a decade. She is a contributor for Forbes, where she covers stories on the plus-size market. Her most recent articles include features about housing a size-inclusive Thanksgiving and alleged fat phobia in current TV shows. It is unclear what role Tovar will play within the department. The San Francisco Department of Public Health did not respond when asked by Fox News Digital about details of Tovar's consultancy. So, and this, of course, is typical government, particularly when it's run by people on the left. A Department of Health hiring and paying somebody to encourage people to be unhealthy, because ultimately that's what this is. Where is Michelle Obama on this body positivity stuff? This is one of those, what I suppose, to a somewhat logically thinking leftist, would be an uncomfortable conflict, because Michelle Obama, if there's only one thing that someone could point to that she accomplished, it was pushing through changes specifically in the school lunch programs based off the idea that kids were unhealthy, particularly that they were overweight. At one point arguing that overweight kids were a greater national security threat than terrorism was to the United States of America, which, if you're some fat fourth grader, what a great positive message to hear from the First Lady. I'm not saying that we don't have health issues in this country. I think her approach of one size fits all, that no matter whether you are some kid that shows up at 5 o'clock in the morning to run, 2 miles for cross country, her one size fits all, that kid should get the same amount of calories in a meal than some 200-pound kid that sits around doing nothing but drinking Mountain Dew all the day, is not very scientific. But that was essentially the approach she took. But the point being, ultimately, is she said there were too many fat kids running around and fat people. And the political ideology that worships Michelle Obama as this just absolutely incredible woman, their belief system is a complete defiance of the only accomplishment, if you want to call it that she ever demonstrated during her time as First Lady in 8 years in the White House. I don't know, maybe it's happened, But given her, it was the Let's Move movement. Wasn't that what it was called? Michelle Obama, Let's Move. I think that's what it was called. It was about getting kids out there, especially the little fatty ones, and getting them to lose weight. Yet we have at the same time this so-called body positivity movement in which you are supposed to, if you're unhealthy because of your weight, then you should embrace that. You should be proud of that. Well, these are... Which one is it? Is Michelle Obama a great goddess who is so positive and such an inspiration? Or are we supposed to embrace unhealthy lifestyles? Which one? Can we get some form of consistency here? And in all honesty, if Michelle Obama really truly cared about health, would she not be coming out against this stuff? I mean, really, I'm not saying this just to have some excuse to call out Michelle Obama. And granted, it was while she was in the White House. That was her theme. That was her job. First ladies always have some sort of theme. For Melania, it was anti-bullying. For Laura Bush, it was literacy. I think that may have been the same thing for Barbara Bush. Nancy Reagan, don't do drugs. Michelle Obama, it was health. Let's move. I assume that wasn't just some first lady gimmick, and that is something that is important to her, and she clearly has a lot of influence. I mean, less now. The Obama name has been very tarnished because of the last election, but she still has this following of people who think that she's the most wonderful first lady that we've ever had. When she observes what I can only imagine is her recognition that unhealthy lifestyles and habits are not only being facilitated, they're being encouraged. Why is she not saying something? I mean, why is she not standing up and saying, whoa, wait a minute here. No, this is not good. Do you remember me? And you remember my Let's Move thing? You remember all of that? We were all going to get healthy. Remember, she planted a garden at the White House lawn. She did all of these things. It's just remarkable. And I suppose it's typical Democrats. The minute that an issue isn't something they can use for themselves, it's turned on. They don't care. Irrelevant to them.
Well, to that point, the same people who praise Michelle Obama in the same breath are also attacking RFK Jr. and his Make America Healthy Again.
Well, of course.
Yep.
Because no issue really, truly matters to them in a moral capacity other than can we use this for us or can we use it against us? And health is one of those things. Michelle Obama, greatest first lady ever, so inspirational. Let's move. Yeah, she wants us to be healthy. Oh, now all of a sudden the body positivity thing where you're supposed to embrace that you're fat and unhealthy. No, that's the one. Well, which one is it? Can we pick one? Michelle, where are you? Can we get your thoughts on this? The other thing, food deserts she talked about all the time. Food desert didn't mean that there was no place to purchase food. It was there was only places to purchase unhealthy food. That was a bad thing. She had these statistics, particularly in neighborhoods dominated by minorities. They were less likely to be within walking distance of a supermarket in which they could buy healthy food. Dollar General. There are a lot of left-wing communities that have blocked. Tulsa, I think, was going through this. Talking about blocking Dollar Generals from establishing themselves in communities that oftentimes were minority communities in the cities because they're lower income, and Dollar Generals, that is their customer base, oftentimes lower income. Well, they also offer quick things to grab, frozen pizzas. You can get your milk and your cheese, but frozen dinners, it's not exactly, the fresh vegetable place. And so you had a lot of left-wingers that were preventing lower income communities from having access to Dollar Generals because they didn't offer fresh food. All they offered was food that could make you fat. But then here on the other hand, we're supposed to embrace obesity because that is being proud of who you are. Well, can you people get it straight? I mean, which is it? Are we supposed to try to be healthy, or are we supposed to embrace the fact that we're not, or pretend that being 400 pounds is somehow not unhealthy? There's another component to this. And how perfect that this San Francisco, liberal city, run by a bunch of liberals. These are people that pushed for several years the most unscientific demands upon people in order to combat COVID. Yet what is it we know? What is the most deadly combination that a person could experience along with COVID? Obesity. Elderly people as well. So you had the elderly and people that had, compromised immune systems, but obesity. You can't do anything about people being old. To a degree, there are certain things that you can do about those who are immune compromised. The one category of people that were at most risk of losing their lives, in which you could actually give them meaningful steps in order to diminish the likelihood that if they got COVID, their lives would be lost, and that would be start maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Start eating better. Start exercising. Start taking care of yourself. Now, of course, there were perfectly healthy, athletic people that did have, even death with COVID. You're always going to have those anomalies. But it was the overall unhealthy individual that was most at risk of dying or having severe complications if they got COVID. Yet this was the one thing that the government never promoted. No, 6 feet apart. Put a mask on. Don't put a mask on. Put this kind of mask on. No, put that kind of mask on. Wipe everything down. Well, no, you don't have to wipe everything down. Do this, do that. I mean, all of this almost superstitious stuff at times. It might as well have told us to carry around a rabbit's foot. So to have San Francisco that turned people's lives upside down and demonized people, all in the name of COVID. Because COVID. We have to save lives. We have to save lives. Those same people are putting on the payroll an obese individual in order to convince people that if you are obese, don't worry about it. It's okay. Be proud of being unhealthy. These people on the left are just classic. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. I want a great homeloan.com, all of your home loan needs. You may be hosting family Christmas and realize man, we need a bigger house. We're going to start. Kids are having grandkids, and we don't have enough rooms to accommodate everyone, or maybe downsizing's in store for you. But point being is you're going to need a home loan in all likelihood. And the place for you to start with that is iwantagreathomeloan.com. Maybe it's refinancing, looking to paying some stuff down. What if you can pay, even if it's just questions, you end up with the ability to pay off. You got $30,000 left on your home. Hey, should I go ahead and pay it off? Maybe, maybe not. May depend on your situation, but that's where you can tap those folks, the characters in that team, for as a resource for any home loan questions, inquiries, needs. iwantagreathomeloan.com, because you do. Couple of your text messages on the Pyramid Roofing Company talking text line, noting that Dollar General has been updating their stores to include fresh fruit and vegetables, and this is the reason why. And again, all of these things happening at the same time, it demonstrates the complete contradiction of the left. You have these Dollar Generals that have been updating a number of their stores to include fresh fruit and vegetables, and this is largely, if not solely, in response to a number of cities run by Democrats that are demanding that they have healthier options for people. But then on the same ideology, the same political party demands that we not shame people for being unhealthy when it comes to obesity. That they encourage obesity by telling people that you should embrace it. You're so beautiful. And I'm not saying that being obese means that you're not beautiful, but these compliments are laid upon people who are generally, not always, but generally leading lifestyles that are not as healthy as they could otherwise be, and they are praising them for it, which, of course, is going to encourage it. I don't know that there is an issue. There may be one. Abortion, I guess, but even arguably abortion, the left used to say, and sometimes they still do, oh, safe and rare, but up till birth. That's a contradiction. But almost on every issue, depending on the circumstance, they will oppose their own position. And when it comes to health, this is one of them. There is a GOP report recommending Liz Cheney be criminally investigated over January 6th. Good. She needs to be. Because of the information that has been discovered, including witness tampering. And if the investigation shows that there's enough evidence she should stand trial, then she should stand trial. And if, before a jury of her peers, she is found guilty of the crimes that are alleged, then she should go to prison for it. No one is above the law. What happened to that? This is actually a real law, though, and like real breaking. This isn't something made up. This isn't a hoax. There's a couple of different stories. Now, The Hill is noting this GOP report is recommending Liz Cheney be criminally investigated over the January 6th work. And it's not over. This is a Hill headline. It's not over her January 6th work. It's over alleged crimes. Among other things, while Republican investigators were hamstrung from a complete review of the committee's taxpayer-funded inquisition because they deleted much of the evidence, Congressman Loudermilk's staff did conduct a thorough investigation of the Pelosi panel's claim with testimony from Cassidy Hutchinson. Cassidy Hutchinson is the one who, it's just laughably hysterical, claimed in testimony that Donald Trump physically tried to he tried to choke out the limo driver so that he could hijack the beast, the limo, and drive it to Capitol Hill to try and help overthrow the government. It's hard to describe without laughing. And what they found through emails and text messages, that there was a coordinated effort. Liz Cheney was circumventing Cassidy's own, Hutchinson's own attorney, giving advice to her, trying to tamper with the witness. The report also highlighted how Cheney coordinated with Hutchinson without her attorney's knowledge as the select committee targeted his law license. Her former attorney has since filed his own bar complaint against Cheney and a $67 million lawsuit against the federal government, which are now the last remaining open opportunities for court discovery into the disgraced ex-congressman's conduct. Based off of the information that has been discovered through text messages and emails and it seems without question that she should be charged. And like I said, if found guilty, and she'll never be charged, she'll never face trial, but this is the sort of thing that tells us that there are certain people who are above the law, and Liz Cheney is one of them. Regarding the weight issue, and this is true, I read an interview with her, Lizzo. Lizzo is one of these celebrities that the left held up as a reason to support unhealthy lifestyles with her obesity, and she has started to lose weight for what she has said is health reasons, and talking about how much better she feels now. And, that is what we should look at as body positivity, not the opposite. Glenn Beck is coming up next. Don't forget Friday, 10 a.m. at KSGF.com, half-price deals for Five Guy burgers, and you can get two of those. So you can get $25 worth of certificates or $50 worth for only $25. That'll be 10 a.m. on Friday.